So there's four main types of verbs in Potawatomi. You have something called a VAI, which we have up here on the board. It's an animate intransitive verb. These are your basic verbs like I sit, I read, I eat, I leave. Basically a verb that doesn't affect anyone else. Then we have something called an II verb, an inanimate intransitive. Those are what are a lot of times adjectives in English. It's round, they're round. It's red, they're red. And then we have something called a VTI verb, which is a transitive inanimate verb. Once you start talking about interacting with an object, you use a VTI verb. So like, I touch it, I see it, and you start mentioning the object itself. Like, I see the chair, I touch the chair, then you use a VTI verb. The final type verb is called a VTA, or a transitive animate verb. And that would be a verb where two animate people are interacting. So like, I'm talking to him, he's talking to me, we're talking to them, you tell her. And there's quite a few different forms with those. But with this basic VAI verb, there's only 7 main types. Now, there's a couple different forms. There's something called the independent, which we're going to go over right here, and then there's something called the conjunct, which we're also going to touch on. So in the independent, the verb maji, again, is the verb to leave. Now, some of you who may have experience with Ojibwa may know maja. Maja is how they say it in Canada or in Ojibwa, but we say maji in Potawatomi. So that means he or she leaves. Namaji, I am leaving, present tense. That N is letting you know it's the I. It's all contained right there on the verb. Gamaji, you're leaving. That G is the you. Maji by itself, or some people will also put a walk at the end, so they'll say maji walk. And occasionally somebody will put a W at the front. It's just wamaji. He or she is leaving. Namajimen, we but not you are leaving. And I'll explain that in just a second. Gamajimen, we all are leaving. Gamajim, you all are leaving. The G and the M is the you all. Majik, they are leaving, with the K being the they. And occasionally on some verbs they'll use a wook for the they form. Now, that we are leaving but not you. That would be the equivalent of like me saying in English, hey, we're going to the store. And you might go, oh, we are? No, no, no. We're going to the store. You're not coming. You're not going with us. So in Potawatomi, I like to think of it as we're a little more polite. In English, you might get put off. I might say, hey, we're going to the store. Then you're like, oh, we are? No, you're not. We're going, oh. But in Potawatomi, the verb that I choose, the way that I conjugate it, you already know if you're invited or not, you're going or not. So it's very, very straightforward, very clear in that way. So again, namaji, gamaji, maji, namajimen, gamajimen, gamajim, majik. These are fundamental to starting to speak in the language. These 7 forms right here. And again, you can take these and apply these to almost all VAI verbs. There are some that are a little bit different, but if you go to our dictionary at www.potawatomi.dictionary.com, there's actually an area where you can hit on tags, which will give you a whole list of these VAI verbs that are regular type ones that you can run through this pattern with. And really, you can just start using the language right away. You know, start talking right away. So, this is that same verb here in the past tense. Again, everything is contained. This is actually one word. Everything's contained on the verb. That gi right there is telling you that happened in the past. So, nagimaji, I left. Gagimaji, you left. Gimaji, he or she left. And again, you have some people might say gimaji walk, or they might say wagimaji. Nagimajiman, we but not you left. Gagimajiman, we all left. Gagimajim, you all left. Gimajik, they left. And so with the past, all you got to do is you got to put that gi inside between the I and the verb, but this is one verb. Sometimes we'll make a little slash right here just to kind of separate them out. So there's the past in the independent form. Now over here we have the future. With the future we use we. So no we maji, I will leave. Go we maji, you will leave. We maji, he or she will leave. We could also put the walk there. It could be we maji walk also. No we majiman, we but not you, will leave. Go we majiman, we all will leave. Go we majim, you all will leave. We majik, they will leave. And again, this is the future tense. So with these understanding, basically, you just want to get down these 7 forms, because once you get these 7 forms down, you can really start talking quite a bit of Potawatomi. You can start asking simple questions. And over here I have an example of that. If you say wabuk, wabuk is tomorrow, wabuk ne gawi maji. Are you going to leave tomorrow? Wabuk ne gawi maji. And that ne, that simple question, is really easy to use. You can even use it in a simplified form, like if you just know an object, for example. Maybe you know that this is a chair right here. Maybe you know a chair. You could say, or you're not 100% sure if it's called a chair. You say jeep de buenne. That'd be like, is it a chair? Or shonyane, do you have money? You can do it like that too. If you want to know a whole lot of verbs, go to www.potawatomi.dictionary.com. Look for the tag for VAI verbs, and you should find a whole list of regular VAI verbs, and you can just take those and basically just punch them in the pattern. Memorize this pattern. Know it backwards, know it frontwards, be able to just spit them out, because understanding these patterns as a second language learner is really fundamental to being able to really start talking the language. And then, as an adult learner, don't be afraid to use the language. Remember, this is our language. It's our language to make mistakes with. It's our language to get right, but it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the process of learning. And so next we're going to talk about the conjunct form. Okay, now we're going to talk about the conjunct form. Now, the conjunct form is the form that we use whenever you're asking more complicated questions. When you're asking who is leaving, why are they leaving, where is someone going? When you're asking who, what, when, where type questions, questions where you're going to get a little more response. Now, the simple questions that we briefly talked about a minute ago, those are just for the independent form. You just use that ne with it. Now, with these more complicated ones, you use this when need ya, who, wek need ya, what, need ya pi, when, ni pija, where, need ya we, why, need ya ye, which is what that should say, need jetso, how much, how many, and need ya is how, and it can also be what sometimes. The other place that you use the conjunct form is whenever you have a second verb in a sentence. So for example, if you were to say something like, nui manakwe mina Kietnam gashkana bagwayan. So I'm going to drink, I'm really thirsty. So that second verb will go into the conjunct most of the time. Doesn't always happen that way, but most of the time. Also, you see a lot of conjunct in longer dialogue, sometimes like prayers, which is kind of like a running onward thought. If somebody's giving a speech, a lot of times it'll kind of flip into the conjunct a lot of times, or sometimes in songs as well. So, but the nice thing about it is, again, there's only 7 forms in this VAI type of verb, this animate intransitive basic verb. So, maji yan, this is the present tense. I am leaving. The yan is the I. Now, on these, all the information is back here on the back end of the verb, at least for who the person is. Maji yan, I'm leaving. Maji yin, you are leaving. The you is the yin. Majit, he or she is leaving. The T is the he or she. And when I say he or she, it depends the context of the question. If you say like that woman, then it's obviously she. If you say that man, it's obviously that man. If you're talking about a certain man or a certain woman, it's obviously him or her. So it just depends on the context. Maji yak, we but not you are leaving. Maji go, we all are leaving. Maji yuk, and some people also say maji yak. A little variation. So maji yuk or maji yak for you all are leaving. Maji wat, they are leaving. Now this is the present tense. Again, just like the independent form, in the conjunct, you just want to really memorize this form. If you need to, get yourself some little note cards, write them out, and quiz yourself on, but really understand, yan, yin, ti, yak, yago, yuk, or yak, and wat. Really get those down so that you can effectively use them, but also so that when you hear them used in a sentence, you don't have to worry too much. You immediately hear the ending, then you can kind of focus in on the verb. Okay, what was being said? So you don't worry about who's doing the action. Now here in the past tense, we either add ga or we'll add egi. It's optional. You can go either way. But you can just say ga maji yan, I left. Ga maji yin, you left. Ga majit, he or she left. Ga maji yak, we but not you left. Ga maji go, we all left. Ga maji yuk, or ga maji yak, you all left. Ga maji wat, they left. You also have the option, and some speakers you might see prefer going this direction. They'll put an E on the front, and so it becomes, what that does is it stops this kind of initial change. We're not going to get into that, but egi majiyan, egi majiyin, egi majit, egi majiyak, egi majigo, egi majiyuk or majiyak, egi majiwat. So those are the two ways of doing it. And that's the past tense with the conjunct form. Over here we've got the future of the conjunct. So here it's ewi or wa. So wa majiyan, I will leave. Wa majiyin, you will leave. Wa majit, he or she will leave. Wa majiyak, we but not you will leave. Wa majigo, we all will leave. Wa majiyuk or wa majiyak, you all will leave. Wa majiwat, they will leave. And again, you have an option. You can do the wa or you can do ewi. Ewi majiyan, I will leave. Ewi majiyin, you will leave. Ewi majit, he or she will leave. Ewi majiyak, we but not you will leave. Ewi majigo, we all will leave. Ewi majiyuk or majiyak, you all will leave. Ewi majiwat, they will leave. And that's the future. Now these words over here that we kind of already went through one time, these are our questioning words. So whenever you use these words right here, you're going to have to put the verb in the conjunct. Wenija, who, wenija, weknija, what, weknija, nija p, when, nipija, where. Now I know these are kind of close and these ones can kind of get confusing for people. So you may want to separate them out if you got maybe a chart where you're working on them alone. So nija p versus nipija. And there is one variation that I forgot to write up here. Some people also will say nijopi for when. So maybe that's a way that might be easier for you if they look too much alike. You could do nijopi versus nijapi, and that might help you out for when. Nipija, where? Nipija, where? Like Nipija wechpiayan, where do you come from? Nipija wajiayan, where are you going to go? Nijawi, why? Nijawi, why? Nijaye, this should say which. Nijaye, which. Nijetso, how much or how many. Nijetso, how much or how many. So like Nijetso de Buganak, what time is it? How much does it measure out to? Nijetso dopunen etoyen. How many tables do you have? Nijetso. There's a little variation on this that I didn't put up here. Some people will say nijetso, but it's really close. Nijetso, nijetso. Nija, how or what. Now this one people will use also occasionally in place of weknija, they'll use nija. But like we say, nija na, how are you? But nija ejbamadzian, how are you living? You know, so nija. Okay, let me see here. Oh, we've got an example sentence down here. So here we've got nija p, when, wa, the future, maji, the verb to leave, yin. So when are you going to leave? Nija p wa maji yin. Nija p wa maji yin. If you wanted to throw a wabuk on there, wabuk means tomorrow, you could say, when are you going to leave tomorrow? Nija p wa maji yin wabuk. When are you going to leave tomorrow? Nija p wa maji yin wabuk. Now, just knowing this ending, you can change this. If you want to ask when are they going to leave, you just take your yin off. And we go over here and we're like, well, what was the they? That's the what. We stick the what on here. And now we've got when are they going to leave? Nija pi wa maji wat. Nija pi wa maji wat. Nija pi wa maji wat. Okay. If you want to change it again, if you want to ask when is she going to leave, you can just take the what off. Okay. What was the he or she? That's the T. Put your T on here. This alone will work, but if you want to be real specific and you want to make sure you know it's that woman you're talking about, you can put an O que. So, nija pi wa majit o que. Nijapi wa majit okwe. When is that woman going to leave? Now, if you want to take this same question and you want to say, when did she leave? Well, what was the past? It's either ga or egi. So you just can slap a ga in here and go, Nijapi ga majit okwe. Nijapi ga majit okwe. So when did the woman leave? If you want to say, when are you all, or when did you all leave? Okay. Okay, so what was you all? That's the yuck or yak. Nijapi ga maji yuck. Nijapi ga maji yuck. Again, some people say yak versus yuck. So Nijapi ga maji yak or yuck. Nijapi ga maji yuck. So when did you all leave? So again, if you can get this pattern down, this yan being the I, the yin being you, the ti being the he or she, the yak being the us but not you, the yago being all of us, the yuck or yak being you all, and the wat being they, you're really on your way to speaking quite a bit of Potawatomi. How? The last area that I want to cover is I want to talk about some of these other forms. We have what's called the negative forms. This is when we're making a negative statement. We have the imperative or command form, and we have the prohibitive form where you're telling somebody not to do something. So we'll start over here with the negative form. Again, this is still with the verb maji, which is a VAI verb. So again, you should be able to go to the dictionary at www.potawamidictionary.com, look for the VAI regular verbs, and any of those verbs you should be able to punch into this pattern. Okay, so with the negative form, in the independent, this is the independent right here, you always have to have cho. Cho, and then you have this si. That's how you know it's a negative statement. So like namaji by itself is I leave. I didn't leave, or I'm not leaving, excuse me, it's present. I'm not leaving. So cho namaji si. Cho namaji si. I'm not leaving. But you have to have the si and the cho. This can be a little confusing to English speakers because a lot of times they would think of it as like a double negative. It's not what it is. I like to think of it as two chances to hear it was a negative statement in Potawatomi. So if somebody says something, you miss the cho, you hear the si, oh, okay, it's a negative statement. Or you hear the cho, you miss the si, oh, it's a negative statement. So cho namaji si, I'm not leaving. Cho gamaji si, you're not leaving. Now this isn't a command, this is a statement. You're not leaving. Cho gamaji si. Cho maji si, he or she is not leaving. Cho namaji si men. Now here, if you'll notice the men and the in for the we but not you, the si goes inside of it. Okay, so cho namaji si men. Cho gamaji si men. So we all are not leaving. Cho gamaji si men. Cho gamaji sim, you all are not leaving. Cho maji seek, they are not leaving. So the thing that you really have to pay attention with this is simply you got to remember to have a cho and a si as part of it. And the si is usually at the end, but once you get to the we's and the kind of plural ones, it's inside of the marker. So the men, it's before the men. Down here, the G and the M, it's before the M. So sim. Here you got the K, it's before the K. Maji seek. Okay? And this is the independent form. Now over here, I've got the negative with the conjunct form. It's a little easier. All you have to do in the conjunct is just put bawa at the front. That's it. You don't even have to have a cho in it. So you just say bawa majiyan. That majiyan is the I leave that we just talked about. Bawa majiyin, you're not leaving. Bawa majit, he or she is not leaving. Bawa majiyak, we but not you are not leaving. Bawa majiyago, we all are not leaving. Bawa majiyuk or majiyak, you all are not leaving. Bawa majiwat, they're not leaving. So real simple in the conjunct. You just have to put that bawa on there and you don't have to worry about the cho. Now again, in the independent though, you have this cho and this si. They're the indicators that it's a negative statement. But the pattern's the same for the most part, other than that you just stick the si on here, or when you get to the we and the you all and the they form, you put it before the person marker. So before the men, you put the si. Before the M, you put the si. Before the K for the they, you put the si. And always remember, you have to have your cho as part of it. Okay. This command form, there's only a couple of forms. Well, 3 to be exact. Majin is telling one person, leave. So, majin, maybe you're talking to your brother, you're talking to your sister, whatever. Majin, you're telling them leave. Okay? Majik, you're telling more than one person. So like, everybody leave. Majik, majik, everybody leave. And then gege majiman, let's leave. Gege majiman. This is kind of a pseudo form, if you will. In Ojibwa or Odawa, they actually will put a da at the end to say, let's leave. This is actually kind of a pseudo form because this gege is like an immediate future tense. So it's kind of like, we immediately are leaving. But we can use it like, let's leave. So, but most of the times people will just use these two forms here. They'll say like, even when people are eating, like when people prayed before a meeting, they'll say, at the end, they'll say, we snick, everybody eat. They won't usually say, gege we sniman, let's eat. They'll say, we snick, everybody eat. So again, the in right here is telling one person, so majin. You just put the in on the end of that verb. Majik, telling more than one person, you all leave. Majik, just putting the K on the end. And then gege majimen, so the gege and the men saying, let's do it. But again, it's kind of a pseudo form, if you will. Over here we got prohibitive. This is when you're telling somebody not to do something. You have to have gago as part of it. Gago, just like you had to have cho over there with the C, you have to have gago as part of it. Okay? Gago maji can. Don't leave. Telling one person. Gago maji can. So you have to have gago and then can. So gago maji can. Don't leave. Telling one person. Gago maji kak. Don't you all leave. Gago maji kak. Again, so you got the can for one person, the kak for more than one, and you have to have the gago as part of it. Now gago is an interesting word because if you use gago by itself, it doesn't really mean the same thing. Like if I just said gago, it really just means something. And I know some people sometimes will use it in kind of a slang way for like stop doing that or something, but it really doesn't have that same meaning unless it has the maji, the can or the kak with it to really mean to stop doing something. So like if I said chogago, for example, that means nothing. If I say gago, it's something. If I say jakshagago, it's everything. So just gago just means something by itself. So you got to have the gago, you got to have the can, and then you got the verb in here. But again, you could just put a different verb in here. For example, you could say gago manakwe can. Don't drink. Don't drink it. Don't drink yet. Don't drink. You could say gago mbak can. Don't fall asleep. Gago mbak can. Gago mbak can. Don't fall asleep. Telling one person. You're telling everybody. You could say gago mbak kak. Don't you all fall asleep. Gago mbak kak. So it's really simple once you get these patterns down to just punch in these verbs. Again, if you go to www.potawatomi.dictionary.com, you're looking for these VAI, these animate intransitive verbs, the real basic verbs. Okay, and then look for regular ones, and you should be able to punch pretty much all of those into these different patterns and just start using them right away. And what I would suggest is do that. If you get to the point where you want to start talking about certain objects, that's okay. It's a little bit of a broken Potawatomi, if you will, instead of changing it to like a TI. It's like saying, like, I'm drinking that pop. But if you said, wishkababo namanakwe, I would understand that. And that's part of the process, getting used to using those words, But like, if you're asking a question like, gabaktene, are you hungry? Gabaktene, that would use this basic VAI and use an independent word, gabaktene. So really start using the words. Don't be afraid to use them. Whatever you learn, start using them. Hopefully understanding these patterns will help you out a little bit. Miigwech, ahau, yo.